July 14, 2017, a home burned to the ground in broad daylight. The victim was a woman known for kindness, caution, and fear. But when her remains were discovered, it wasn't the fire that shocked investigators. It was the bullet hidden deep in her skull. And the man who found her was also her husband, the town's fire chief. Hi everyone, welcome back. Today, we're covering one of the most disturbing unsolved cases in recent years. A case full of unanswered questions, questionable decisions, and a family's fight for truth. If you're into deep dive true crime investigations, make sure to subscribe and stay active. Your support means a lot. Now let's dive into the haunting case of Nanette Krentel. A quiet afternoon in Louisiana, emergency services received a call. A home was on fire. The caller was a family member who spotted thick smoke from miles away. The local fire chief, Steve Krentel, was the first responder on the scene. But when the fire was finally extinguished, what they found inside would upend everything. The charred remains of a woman in the master bathroom, Nanette Krentel, Steve's wife. The pets were dead. Her car was still in the garage, and the house's 9 security cameras had all mysteriously stopped working. It should have been a tragic accident, but it wasn't. Nanette was born in New Orleans into a humble family with strong values. She was caring, loyal, and deeply close to her sisters and father, an animal lover, a community volunteer, and a devoted stepmother. By all accounts, Nanette lived a peaceful life. She married Steve Krentel in 1995 after meeting him at his office supply store. He was married at the time, but after a quick divorce, the two tied the knot. They moved to a 100-acre property in Lomé, where Steve rose through the ranks to become fire chief. To outsiders, the couple lived a picture-perfect life. But Nanette's private messages to her family told a different story. One of fear. Nanette had grown terrified of Steve's brother, Brian, recently released from prison. She pushed for home security cameras and kept self-defense tools hidden throughout her home, car, and purse. Her family confirmed that she had received direct threats from Brian and Steve. He seemed to support her precautions. They practiced shooting together. He bought more firearms. But beneath the surface, the couple's life was beginning to crack. When Nanette's body was discovered, officials first suspected she had died in the fire. But the coroner's report told a different story. A bullet lodged in her skull. No smoke in her lungs. She had been murdered before the fire even began, but the scene had already been compromised. Steve returned to the property just 2 days after the fire. No crime scene tape, no formal lockdown. It wasn't until Steve Essen discovered a piece of Nanette's skull in the rubble that investigators closed off the area. And still, no weapon was found. 9 security cameras around the property. Steve claimed they had stopped working. Later, investigators found traces of accelerant on the camera system intentionally destroyed Nanette's phone. A call placed to an unknown number shortly before her death. The person on the other end claimed they didn't know her. That number has never been traced. Steve's alibi. He was working at the fire station, unusual for a Friday, and surveillance confirmed he never left. But why was he working on his day off? Then came more disturbing revelations. Nanette had discovered Steve was having an affair. She told her family she was considering divorce, which, under Louisiana law, meant a 50-50 split of their vast property. Steve admitted to the affair, but claimed they had reconciled. Meanwhile, Steve's son, Justin, once described as having friction with Nanette, was ruled out. He was out of state. But Steve's brother, Brian, a history of threats, a GPS ankle monitor that mysteriously lost signal on the day of the murder. When reviewed, home surveillance footage appeared to show Brian at his parents' house. But Nanette's family raised red flags. The clock and lighting in the footage seemed suspicious, possibly staged. There were more inconsistencies. No weapon ever found. No blood splatter typical of a gunshot. No food in Nanette's stomach, despite having bought lunch just hours before. An unknown man had been spotted near the property a month earlier. He left behind a knife and cigarette, but he was never identified. As suspicion grew, so did frustration with local authorities, especially Sheriff Randy Smith. Despite federal forensic evidence, he continued to float theories that Nanette may have died by suicide. Even after ballistic evidence ruled it out after just 2 months, Steve was publicly removed as a person of interest. Investigators cited a lack of motive and said his alibi was confirmed. Nanette's family strongly disagreed. Not all records had been reviewed, witnesses hadn't been reinterviewed, and Steve, as next of kin, had exclusive access to case files. He refused to share them with Nanette's sisters. Private forensic experts reviewing the case said basic investigative protocol was ignored. Critical evidence was never preserved. Key witnesses never followed up with. The case was slowly being buried. Nanette's sisters refused to let the case die. They launched social media campaigns, submitted formal complaints, and demanded a jurisdiction change. All denied. They pointed to major gaps. No effort to recover deleted data, no statewide surveillance pulled. No explanation for the GPS blackout on Brian's ankle monitor. Even after their father's death, the sisters kept pushing. And in 2024, finally, a glimmer of hope. Newly elected District Attorney Colin Sims announced he would re-examine the evidence. Nanette's case remains open, but inactive. No charges, no justice, and still no access for her family. To this day, Steve Krentel, the man who first responded to the fire, and the last person to see Nanette alive, remains the legal custodian of all investigative records. For Nanette's loved ones, the fight isn't over. They believe someone knows the truth, and they won't stop until that truth is exposed. Thanks for watching. If you believe this story deserves answers, like, comment, and share to help keep the case alive. Your support means everything, especially to those still fighting for justice. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious.